Hey, it's 89.9 QFM. Oh, that is a jam, man. That's fitting. That's Fred Hammond, When the Spirit of the Lord. And so I told you she was coming in. I got her in the air chair, and she's a friend of mine. Her name is Jacinta Williams. Hello, Jacinta.
Hello, Miss Joyce. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm so glad. I am thankful. Thank you for coming in and joining me today.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, indeed, indeed. So listen, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we've been having this conversation all month long, and I think our listeners believe so too, and I know you do because you're here with me, that it's a very important conversation to have. And so I'm thankful that you're here to join me because we've got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
We're going to talk about your breast cancer journey, and we're also going to talk about a big event that you've got coming up as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I know a little bit about you, Jacinta, but why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself as well?
Okay. Well, I am originally from North Carolina, the western part of North Carolina, which is the countryside, and that's where I was born and raised. I've been in the Connecticut area for about 4 years now.
Okay, so what brought you from North Carolina to Connecticut?
From the south to the north. Yes, yes. Just a change of pace, job, and just living life.
All right, well, welcome. We're going to keep you. We're glad that you're
well,
here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Indeed, but now you're here, as I said, we've been talking about breast cancer awareness. And as you know, 1 in 8 women will be unfortunately afflicted with this disease.
Yes.
And now you have a journey that unfortunately that you've experienced as it relates to breast cancer. So one of the important things, Jacinta, as you know, what we're trying to do is just get the message out to talk about our journey, particularly as it relates to African American women. And so when I say if I can get a voice in here to comfortably share their experiences, that means so much, not only to me, but to our listeners. So I want to just thank you in advance before we even start to talk about your journey.
You're welcome. Yes, it is very important, especially within our community.
Okay, and now you're a breast cancer survivor.
I will call myself a Previvor.
Okay.
So I actually have not had breast cancer, but
wonderful.
because of my family history, I have gone through all stages. Back in 2002, I actually had a bilateral mastectomy, which was a preventive option for me at that time for someone with my history of breast cancer in their family.
Okay, and so when you say a history of breast cancer in your family, so it was identified that there's a gene, a family gene, or how did you learn about the history?
Well, first of all, my aunt died of breast cancer at the age of 39. My mother died of breast cancer at the age of 41, and my grandmother was a survivor. So I've unfortunately had to deal with it all my life.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and so in learning of the experiences that your mom and other family members had to go through, and I know that's very frightening.
Yes.
And so what made you, in addition to learning about the history, to decide to make that next step?
Well, at the age of 30, I actually, within a self-examination, I found a lump in my breast at the age of 30. At the age of 31, I found my second lump. Fortunately, both were benign. But because of the history of within my family, it didn't really take any genetic type of testing for me to realize that this was something that was probably going to affect me. So with the advice of my breast surgeon and my family physician, we decided to do at that time, a new prevention, and that was a bilateral or a prophylactic mastectomy, which means it was a preventive mastectomy. Okay. So at the age of almost 33, I had both breasts removed, followed by full reconstruction. Okay. So by me doing that decreased my chances drastically.
Sure, sure. And listeners, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking with Jacinta Williams. She's joining me in the air chair as we talk about breast cancer battle, options as it relates to preventative care.
Yes.
And decisions that Jacinta made. And it's interesting, Jacinta, because I was just reading an article about a young woman who is getting ready to have a mastectomy at the age of 24.
Yes.
And one of the things that she found out as I was talking about genetics is that there is testing that you can do, genetic testing. I think it's called the BRCA.
BRCA 1 and 2.
Okay, but you didn't go through those tests.
I went through the genetic counseling.
Okay.
But at that time, 17 years ago, I decided not to do the testing, and it was due to insurance.
Sure.
I guess you could say, I didn't want to have any problems as far as insurance. Now that's not even on the table. That is an option for a lot of women that have a strong family history, and genetic testing is definitely recommended.
Okay. And a big difference now that the insurance companies are coming on board and seeing, but 17 years ago...
It was different, Joyce. I was almost like a guinea pig.
Okay.
With my breast surgeon, I was only the second patient that he had that went through the course that I did. Normally, your options are a 6-month ultrasound, or at that time, there was a drug called tamoxifen that someone in my situation could take. So I took the most drastic choice, which was the bilateral mastectomy. Now there are plenty of different options. There's not as many precautions on the table. So the genetic testing I would recommend for those that do have a strong family history. I actually spoke with a surgeon just a couple of weeks ago, and I am actually going to do the testing now, and that is to help my daughter, who is now 26, to make the best choice for her. So in order for her to do that, I do need to do the testing.
Okay. So wow, you stepped out on faith.
I stepped out on faith. I wanted to live, okay? And so I did my research at that time. I got on Google, I researched. I was from a small town. And so the town that I was from, they didn't have, or the doctors, really weren't giving me those options. So I started looking and researching, trying to find out what the larger healthcare facilities were doing throughout the United States, and this is what I found, and I did it. And it's, it's quite refreshing now because I see actress Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
She did the surgery. So me knowing that I did this 17 years ago, and now it is the #1 option for people in my situation, I think I made a really good decision.
Well, look, sister got it going on. You are ahead of the curve.
I'm ahead of the curve. Yes. And I look at it as a blessing.
Yes.
So that I did my research. I was proactive. So I didn't want to sit around and be a guinea pig.
Sure.
So I think that I did make the best choice for
and
me.
you're a living, walking testimony, and as listeners are tuning in to hear your story, I know that it is certainly touching in getting that information out to a number of our listeners. So listeners, if you're just tuning in, I've got Jacinta Williams. We're continuing this conversation about breast cancer. And so as you know, breast cancer, unfortunately, from what I understand, is the second killer of African American women or women of African descent next to lung cancer.
Yes.
And between 1 in 8 women will be afflicted with this invasive disease. And about 40,000 women will die a year from this horrific disease. And one of the challenges, Jacinta, and the message that we want to get out is that African American women or women of African descent, we don't get cancer as often as white women.
We die from it the most.
Say that again?
We die from it the most, Joyce. No, we don't get cancer as often as white women, but because we catch it in a later stage and we're being reactive instead of proactive, we die from it the most.
So stage 3 or stage 4, when it has become more invasive in the body. And the studies are out. There's a number of reasons, but most importantly, folks, it starts with your own personal examining your breasts. And as you said, Jacinta, you found a lump 1 year, and then the next year you found another lump. So you made a decision in advance based on your family history of what you would like to do as a preventative method in caring for your body.
Yes. Normally, as far as your mammograms are concerned, the average age for a woman is 40 years of age. Because of my history, I had my first mammogram at the age of 25.
Okay.
My first lump was found by a self-examination. My second was found through a mammogram. So they do work.
Yes.
And technology and the different, health methods out there now, cancer is not a death sentence, but we need to catch it in an early stage. And the treatment is, as you said, less invasive and less toxic. So not as much chemotherapy, etc.
Okay, all right. And, I was talking to my doctor. We were having this conversation of when should you start doing self-breast exams. And my doctor said, Joyce, and I'll tell the listeners, as early as you have breasts.
Yes, ma'am.
Is when you should start checking them.
Touch yourself. Yes,
Yes.
check your breasts.
Yes, yes. So, Jacinta, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And now you have a big event coming up.
Yes.
You've got a big event coming up, and it is in correlation of what we're talking about as it relates to breast cancer. Talk a little bit about that as you continue to talk about your journey and bringing all of this full circle.
As I stated, I lost my mother to breast cancer. She was 41 years of age. It was in the middle of my senior year of high school. So it played a huge impact in my life. It probably changed my life.
Sure.
And so every year I try to do something in memory of my mother. It can be something small, something medium, something large. This year I wanted to do a large event. And so that is where Head Wrap for a Cause came into play. And with my partners in crime, LaTanya Branham and China Bird, we came together and we launched Head Wrap for a Cause. The event will happen on October 20th, and just around the corner. I am getting very excited, nervous at the same time. But October 20th is the date, from 6 to 10 p.m. And as I said, it is a sit-down dinner event. So there's going to be vendors. There are actually 9 survivors that we will honor that night.
Oh, very nice.
So I'm proud to say that we have 9 survivors, and also too we will acknowledge 5 that have passed on. So there will be an in remembrance. We can't forget those. So
yes.
so that will be on the table as well.
Well, that sounds exciting, Jacinta. So October
20th.
So that's in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks.
All right. And you're celebrating survivors.
Yes.
And so, what are some of the other things that are going to happen on? Because it sounds exciting. From
Yes.
what time to what time?
From 6 to 10, Joyce.
Okay. All right. I got
6 to 10 p.m.
And so you're bringing folks together. Is it in the Hartford area? Where's this going to go down?
The event is actually in Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay.
I walked into the venue, Joyce, and I was like, this is the place. So
Okay.
I'd never been to Middletown, Connecticut, but whenever I found the venue, that's where it had to be. So it's called The Inn at Middletown, and that's Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay. All right. So, folks, if you're listening, I got Jacinta Williams. We're talking about breast cancer awareness, and we're talking about a big event coming up October 20th. We're looking for your support, not only in Middletown, Hartford, but at the sound of our voice. We certainly want you to come out. And so you're celebrating survivors. What are some of the, you got food there?
We
you
have
got music?
We have
What's going on?
sit-down dinner. We have a cash bar. We have music. All of your best R&B will be on the beat, I guess you can say. We have several vendors, and I would like to mention their names if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Vintage Mod Mix, V's Accessories, Destiny Faith, FG Apparel, Creative Artwork by Joanne, Elm City Candle, All That Glitters,
Okay.
and Shay Dion, which will be our keynote speaker. She will have a table as well.
Oh, very nice. So we're doing shout outs now. So now who is Shay?
I'm appreciative of everyone that supports me. So yes, I got to give them a shout out.
Yes. And it sounds like a dynamic speaker
Yes.
as well. So this is wonderful. Again, the event's happening October 20th. Folks, mark your calendar. We're celebrating breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
And this month, I mean, we can continue this conversation all month, all year long, because just to get the message out about breast cancer is so important. And so if you're just tuning in, Jacinta Williams is hanging out in the air chair. Now, Jacinta, as we get ready to wrap up, as we get ready to close, what message would you like to share with our listeners as it relates to your experience or anything that you would like to leave with them?
What I would like to share is there is hope. The biggest word, hope. Mm-hmm. A lot of people hear cancer and they bring fear. It brings fear. Cancer is treatable. Cancer can be prevented, okay? Cancer is treatable if it is caught in the early stages. So what I would love to pass on to the viewers or the listeners is, especially to our African American audience, please do your self-examinations, do your yearly doctor appointments, exams, do your mammograms, and I think the age now is the age 40. I'm not being a physician, but I think it is the age 40. Age 40 is the age now to start your mammograms. but just be proactive and make healthy decisions and make the best choice and decisions for yourself.
All right, there it is. Well said. Listen.
No,
look, you said it.
Okay.
You said it.
Yes.
You said, drop the mic. You said it. So now you're in the air chair. We're going to continue to jump into some music and keep the jams rolling. Because you're in the air chair, who's on your playlist? Who are we going to roll out to?
We are going to roll out to I Rise Up by Andra Day.
There it is. On 89. Very nice choice.
Yes.
On 89.9, it's Q FM.